Ever feel like financial documents are written
Ah.
in a secret language?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, we're going to try to crack the code of an IPO red herring prospectus,
Yep.
the document companies file before going public. It's kind of like a company's resume,
Right.
but with a lot more detail.
Yeah, a lot.
You've shared excerpts from the International Gemmological Institute, India Limited, or IGI.
Uh-huh.
And our mission today is to sift through all the jargon and legalese
What's a jargon?
to uncover what this document really tells us.
Right.
What should you know as a potential investor?
Well, it's like a treasure hunt,
Okay.
except instead of buried gold,
Uh-huh.
we're looking for the nuggets of insight that reveal a company's true potential.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So let's get started with IGI.
Okay.
They're not your typical tech IPO.
No.
They specialize in certifying diamonds, gemstones, and jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about niche expertise.
Right, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They're expanding into the rapidly growing market of lab-grown diamonds.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's a potential game changer, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a bold move, especially considering they were originally incorporated back in 1999,
Oh, wow.
when lab-grown diamonds were barely a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
This IPO, with its fresh issue of new shares and an offer for sale by the promoter, signals their ambition to be a major player in this emerging market.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're aiming for global domination, too.
Wow.
They're using part of the IPO proceeds to acquire IGI, Belgium, and IGI, Netherlands.
So international.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's talk numbers for a second.
Sure.
What does their financial performance look like?
Well,
Are they in a strong position to fund this ambitious expansion?
their revenue growth is certainly eye-catching. A KGR of 32.32% from 2021 to 2023
Bye.
is more than double the industry average.
Go high.
That tells me they're not just riding the wave, they're creating it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But high growth doesn't always mean profits, right?
Right.
What does the prospectus tell us about their margins?
Well, their profitability is equally impressive. Their EBIT and profit after tax margins
Okay.
are consistently high,
They're profitable.
indicating a lean and efficient operation.
Good.
And as you might expect, a good chunk of this recent growth comes from certifying those lab-grown diamonds.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that was a smart move on their part
Yeah.
to get in on that.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not just reacting to a trend.
Right.
They're actively shaping it.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget about the risks.
Yeah, that's true.
Every investment comes with its share of uncertainty.
Of course.
What are some of the potential challenges highlighted in the prospectus?
Well, they're very upfront about the risks, which is a good sign.
Okay.
Competition is always a factor.
Right.
Of course, there are other established players in the certification game,
Yeah.
and new entrants, particularly in the lab-grown diamond space, could emerge.
So they're in a constant battle to maintain their market share. What other risks do they face?
Well, the prospectus also mentions industry-specific risks,
Okay.
such as the possibility of fraud or discrepancies in the grading process.
Yeah.
These issues could damage their reputation, which is paramount in the diamond world.
Reputation is everything.
It is.
And what about their reliance on their laboratory network? Any potential vulnerabilities there?
Well, they acknowledge that disruptions to their labs,
Okay.
whether from natural disasters, political instability, or unforeseen events,
Like a pandemic.
but say a global pandemic,
Yeah.
could significantly impact operations.
Right. The
Yeah.
world can throw some curveballs.
It can.
So we've covered the financial side and the risks.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the human element?
Oh, yeah.
What does the prospectus reveal about the people behind the numbers?
Well, this is where things get interesting. The prospectus offers a glimpse into their history,
Okay.
the composition of their management team, even their employee attrition rates.
Wow.
It paints a picture of a company that values its people and its reputation.
And here's what really caught my eye. Their stakeholder engagement. They're not just sitting in a lab all day.
Right.
They're actively building a community around their expertise.
Mm.
Their jewelry design contests, for example, are a brilliant way to engage with aspiring designers
Yeah.
and build brand loyalty.
Absolutely.
Last year, their IGI Expressions contest received over 1,500 entries
Wow.
from 41 countries.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
It shows they're not just a technical service provider.
Right.
They're creating a movement, fostering a sense of excitement and connection around their
I
brand.
love that. Okay, let's take a step back
Okay.
and talk about the red herring prospectus itself.
Fair.
It's incredibly detailed,
Yeah.
with sections on everything from financial statements to legal proceedings.
Yeah, lots of information in those
It's
documents.
like a mini encyclopedia
Mm-hmm.
of IGI.
Right.
But there's one detail that stood out to me.
Okay.
The mention of Indian accounting standards.
Oh, yeah,
That's a crucial point
it is.
for any potential investor.
Yeah.
Indian accounting standards might differ from U.S. GAAP or IFRS.
Right.
So it's essential to understand these nuances before making any investment decisions.
Yeah, very important.
It's a reminder that the global financial landscape
Mm-hmm.
can be complex.
Oh, it can be.
Speaking of complexity, let's talk about the promoter.
Okay.
BCP, Asia 3, Topco Pete, LTD.
Okay.
They're the current owner, selling some of their existing shares in this IPO.
Right.
And their history with IGI is quite interesting.
Interesting how.
Well, they acquired their shares from two previous shareholders, Alpha U and Lori Holding,
Okay.
back in May 2023.
Gotcha.
And there's a bit of a twist there.
What's that?
It seems there were some difficulties in gathering information from Alpha U
Uh-oh.
and another company they were connected to, CI Index.
Oh.
So while the red herring prospectus acknowledges there might be some historical links,
Yeah.
these companies aren't being classified as part of IGI's group because of this lack of information.
I see.
It definitely adds a layer of intrigue, right?
It does.
Investors might want to do some digging into that history to get the full picture.
Definitely.
Now, we've touched on their impressive revenue growth, but
Mhm.
let's get specific.
Okay.
What are some of the key financial highlights that really stand out to you?
Well, their revenue growth trajectory is phenomenal.
Wow.
From 2021 to 2023, their CAGR was a whopping 32.32%.
Wow.
That means they're not just growing.
Right.
They're growing at an accelerating pace.
It's a real sign of momentum.
It is.
But what about their bottom line?
Right.
Are they translating this revenue growth into solid profits?
Their profitability is equally remarkable.
And in what way?
For the 3 months leading up to March 34 in 2024,
Okay.
their EBITDA margin was an incredible 79.05%.
Wow.
Even for the full year of 2023, it was a very healthy 70.49%.
Healthy indeed.
These numbers demonstrate their ability to convert revenue into profit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're firing on all cylinders.
They are.
But what about debt?
Yeah.
Are they taking on a lot of debt to fuel this growth?
Actually, they report being net debt-free,
Wow, really?
which is a fantastic sign. It means they have more financial flexibility
Okay.
and aren't burdened by interest payments.
That's a huge plus from an investor's perspective. They're in a strong financial position to continue their growth trajectory.
Absolutely.
But of course, past performance isn't always a guarantee of future success, right?
Right.
What are some of the specific risks and considerations outlined in the red herring prospectus that investors need to keep in mind?
Well, they're transparent about the potential challenges they face.
Okay.
Their reliance on their laboratory network is a key one, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Disruptions to their labs could significantly impact their operations.
Right, and they acknowledge the inherent risks of fraud and discrepancies in the grading process,
Yeah, they do.
which could damage their hard-earned reputation.
Of course, their reputation is very important.
And of course, competition is always a factor.
Yeah.
What are some of the competitive pressures they're facing?
They face competition from both established gemological laboratories and potential new entrants,
Okay.
particularly in the rapidly evolving field of lab-grown diamonds.
Right.
They're not just competing with the old guard,
Right.
they're also fending off disruptors.
It's a dynamic and challenging landscape, and we talked about customer demand earlier,
Yeah.
but let's delve a bit deeper. What are some of the specific factors that could influence the demand for their services?
Well, they highlight several factors,
Okay.
including overall economic conditions, consumer preferences, the availability of rough diamonds, both natural and lab-grown,
Okay.
and even the potential impact of ethical considerations.
Oh, interesting.
Especially surrounding the sourcing of diamonds.
That's a crucial point, especially in today's world where consumers are increasingly conscious of ethical sourcing and sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the red herring prospectus also delves into some of the regulatory and legal considerations that could impact IGI. What are some of the key takeaways there?
Well, as an Indian company,
Okay.
they're subject to a complex web of Indian laws and regulations,
Yeah.
covering areas like foreign investment, taxation, and labor.
Hmm.
But they're also a global company, so changes in international trade policies and regulations could impact their operations.
Right. So it's a balancing act.
It is.
Navigating both domestic and international regulations. Okay. Now, let's zoom in on the management team.
Okay.
Who are the key players steering the ship at IGI?
Well, the prospectus provides a detailed breakdown of IGI's board of directors. It's a diverse group with expertise in finance, law, and of course, gemology.
Right.
It's clear they've assembled a team with the experience and knowledge to guide the company through this crucial phase of growth.
Okay. That's reassuring for investors.
It is.
But what about employee turnover? What does the prospectus say about their ability to attract and retain talent?
They report a relatively low annual attrition rate for employees, excluding key management personnel and senior management, of 3.17% in 2024.
That's good.
This suggests they're doing a good job of keeping their workforce happy and engaged.
That's impressive, especially considering the competitive labor market.
Yeah, it is.
But is this low attrition sustainable? What are they doing to retain talent in the long run?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they adapt to the evolving demands of the workforce and maintain their competitive edge in attracting and retaining top talent.
Okay. Let's move on to something that always piques my curiosity. The legal proceedings section.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any ongoing legal battles that could potentially impact IGI's future?
Well, there are a few legal proceedings mentioned, but none seem to pose a substantial threat to the company.
Okay.
One case dating back to 2017 involves KS Trade LLC, who filed a complaint against IGI USA, IGI UAE, and IGI India, alleging misrepresentation of diamond values and discrepancies in grading standards between IGI labs in New York and those outside of New York.
So that ties back to the risk of grading discrepancies and the potential damage to their reputation.
Exactly.
What's the status of that case?
The document states that IGI has refuted these allegations.
Okay.
And the case is still ongoing in court.
So we'll have to see what happens.
We will.
It's something investors should keep an eye on.
Definitely.
But it's too early to say what the ultimate outcome will be.
Right.
Legal proceedings can be lengthy and unpredictable.
They can be.
Now, in today's digital age, cybersecurity is a top concern.
Yeah, very much so.
For any company.
For sure.
How does IGI address the risks associated with data breaches and cyber attacks?
Well, they acknowledge the growing threat of cybersecurity risks and outline their efforts to mitigate these risks. They have technology and information security processes in place, including security and threat assessment plans, safeguards, and periodic external service and service provider reviews.
So they're taking cybersecurity seriously, but as with any system, there's always the possibility of a breach. How do they address this?
They're realistic about the limitations of any security system, acknowledging that no system is foolproof.
Right.
They cannot guarantee that their operations won't be disrupted or that their financial impact will be minimized in the event of a cyber attack.
It's a reminder that cybersecurity is an ongoing battle.
It is.
And companies need to be constantly vigilant.
For sure.
Now, IGI is a global company.
Yes.
With operations in multiple countries.
Yeah.
How do they manage the complexities of operating in different legal and regulatory environments?
Well, they have dedicated legal and compliance teams that ensure they comply with all applicable laws and regulations in each jurisdiction where they operate. They also emphasize the importance of staying informed about changes in international trade policies and regulations, which can have a significant impact on their global business.
So they're not just focused on the technical side of gem certification.
Right.
They're also adept at navigating the intricate world of global regulations.
Yeah, they have to be.
Now let's talk about their expansion plans.
Oh, yeah?
We know they're acquiring IGI Belgium and IGI Netherlands, but what are their broader ambitions for growth?
Yeah, the Red Herring Prospectus outlines several key growth strategies. They're looking to expand their global laboratory network, increase their market share in existing markets, and develop new services and technologies. It's a multi-pronged approach to growth, and it seems to be paying off.
Okay, let's delve into each of these strategies a bit further.
Sure.
Starting with their laboratory network, where are they looking to expand?
Well, they're aiming to enhance customer touchpoints by establishing new laboratories in strategic locations around the world. This not only improves accessibility for their services, but also allows them to tap into new markets and customer segments.
So it's about expanding their reach.
It is.
And getting closer to their customer.
Yeah, exactly.
What about increasing their market share in existing markets?
Yeah.
How do they plan to achieve that?
They plan to leverage their strong brand reputation, their established laboratory network, and their expertise in both natural and lab-grown diamonds to attract new customers and solidify their position in key markets.
Okay. And what about developing new services and technologies? What are some of the areas they're focusing on?
They're investing in research and development to create new and innovative services that cater to evolving customer needs and industry trends.
Makes sense.
They're also exploring new technologies.
Oh, like what?
Such as artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance their grading processes and improve efficiency.
So they're not resting on their laurels. Nope. They're constantly looking for ways to innovate and stay ahead of the curve. Now, let's talk about the financial implications of these growth plans.
Okay.
How do they plan to fund these ambitious initiatives?
A significant portion of the funds raised from the IPO will be allocated to these growth initiatives.
Right.
They're also exploring other financing options.
Like what?
Such as debt financing and strategic partnerships.
So they're diversifying their funding sources to ensure they have the resources to execute their growth strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, one thing that's always important to consider when evaluating an IPO is the company's valuation.
True.
How does IGI's valuation compare to its peers in the industry?
Well, the Red Herring Prospectus doesn't provide specific details on their valuation.
Okay.
But it does offer some insights into their pricing strategy.
Oh, like what?
They mention using a combination of factors, including their financial performance, growth prospects, and industry benchmarks to determine the offer price range.
So they're taking a holistic approach to valuation.
They are.
Considering both quantitative and qualitative factors.
Yes.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's touch on a topic that's particularly relevant to IGI. The ethical considerations surrounding diamonds, especially lab-grown diamonds.
Yeah, good topic.
This is an area where IGI is actively engaged. Lab-grown diamonds offer several advantages over natural diamonds, including sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Yes, very much so.
However, there are also concerns about their potential impact on the traditional diamond market.
It's a valid concern.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
With far-reaching implications.
Yeah.
How does IGI address these ethical considerations in their Red Herring Prospectus?
Well, they acknowledge the importance of ethical sourcing and sustainability in the diamond industry. They highlight their commitment to responsible business practices and their efforts to educate consumers about the differences between natural and lab-grown diamonds.
So they're not just selling diamonds. They're also promoting transparency and ethical practices in the industry. They're aiming to be part of the solution rather than ignoring the complex questions this industry faces.
Exactly.
Now, let's take a quick pause here. We'll be back in a moment to dive even deeper into IGI's story.
It's a fascinating challenge finding that balance between innovation and tradition.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of balancing acts, let's talk about the details of this IPO. How many shares are they offering? And how will they be allocated?
That's the key question.
It is?
For anyone considering investing, the prospectus lays out the offer structure, which includes both a fresh issue of new shares and an offer for sale of existing shares by the promoter. The final number of shares offered depends on the price, which they'll determine through the book-building process.
It's a bit like an auction.
Where
institutional investors place bids. But it's more nuanced than that. The final price reflects not just demand, but also the perceived value of the company based on its financials, growth prospects, and the overall market sentiment.
So this complex dance.
It is.
Between supply, demand, and market psychology.
Exactly.
But how are these shares divided?
Yeah.
Among different types of investors?
Well, they've carved out portions for various categories.
Okay.
Qualified institutional buyers, or QIBs.
Okay.
Those big institutional investors like mutual funds and pension funds get a significant chunk.
Okay.
There's also a portion for non-institutional investors, which includes individuals, high net worth individuals, and corporate bodies.
So even if you're not a Wall Street titan, you still have a shot at getting in on the action.
You do?
What about the folks who work at IGI? Do they get a piece of the pie?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
They've reserved shares specifically for eligible employees, giving them a chance to participate in the IPO and potentially benefit from the company's future success.
It's a great way to incentivize employees.
It is.
And align their interests with those of the shareholders.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Speaking of wins, let's dive into those financial statements.
Okay.
Even for seasoned investors, these can be a bit daunting.
Yeah, they can be.
What should we be looking for in IGI's financials?
Well, beyond the consistent revenue growth and strong profitability we've already discussed, you want to examine the balance sheet.
Okay.
It's crucial to understand their assets, liabilities, and get a sense of their overall financial health.
Right. It's like peeking under the hood.
It is.
To make sure the engine is running smoothly.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some other financial metrics that can provide valuable insights?
Well, things like their debt-to-equity ratio, which tells you how much debt they're using to finance their operations, are worth noting. The cash flow statement is another gem.
Oh, okay.
Revealing how effectively they're managing cash and generating it from their operations.
It's not just about one number.
It's not.
It's about analyzing a range of metrics to get a holistic picture of their financial performance and stability.
Exactly.
And of course, no investment is without risk.
That's right.
What are some of the specific risks associated with IGI's business model and industry that jump out from the prospectus?
Well, they're upfront about the potential challenges.
Okay.
Their reliance on their laboratory network is a major one, as any disruption to those labs, whether from natural disasters or other unforeseen circumstances, could severely hamper their operations.
It's a reminder that even the most sophisticated businesses can be vulnerable to events outside of their control.
That's true.
What about industry-specific risks? What are some of the things that could go wrong within the diamond certification world?
Well, they highlight the risk of fraud and grading discrepancies.
Okay.
A single high-profile incident could tarnish their reputation, which is everything in this industry.
Right.
They also acknowledge the reliance on customer demand, which can be influenced by unpredictable factors like economic fluctuations and even shifting consumer preferences.
So they're operating in a dynamic and sometimes volatile market.
They are.
Now, let's talk about the team at the helm.
Okay.
We've mentioned their experienced board of directors, but what about the key executives who are responsible for the day-to-day operations?
Well, the prospectus provides in-depth profiles of their key executives, highlighting their expertise in gemology, operations, finance, and marketing. They also disclose the compensation structure for these executives, which can provide insight into how their incentives align with shareholder interests.
Transparency on executive compensation is always a positive sign. Now, I always find the legal proceedings section to be a bit of a nail-biter.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Are there any ongoing legal battles that could cast a shadow over IGI's future?
Well, there are a few legal proceedings mentioned, but none appear to pose a substantial threat to the company.
Okay, that's good.
They mention a case dating back to 2017 involving KS Trade LLC, who alleged discrepancies in grading standards between different IGI laboratories.
That echoes the risk of grading inconsistencies that we discussed earlier.
It does.
What's the latest on that case?
Well, IGI has refuted the allegations, and the matter is still pending in court. It's something to monitor, but the final outcome is unclear.
It's a reminder that legal proceedings can be lengthy.
They can be.
And outcomes can be uncertain.
That's true.
Now, cybersecurity is a top-of-mind concern.
It is.
For any company operating in the digital age.
Absolutely.
How does IGI address this risk in their prospectus?
They acknowledge the growing threat of cyber attacks and data breaches.
Okay, good.
They outline their efforts to mitigate these risks, highlighting their technology and information security processes, which include threat assessment plans, safeguards, and regular external audits.
So they're taking concrete steps to protect their data and systems.
Absolutely.
But they also acknowledge that no system is completely impenetrable.
That's right. No system is foolproof.
Right. They're realistic about the fact that cyber attacks are an evolving threat.
They are.
And no company is immune.
No one is immune.
They can't guarantee that their operations won't be disrupted or that the financial impact will be minimized in the event of a cyber attack.
Yeah. It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, it really is.
In the cyber world.
Now, IGI isn't just relying on traditional methods.
Oh.
They've developed their own software,
Okay.
like SwiftCert, to manage operations across different locations.
Interesting.
What other technological innovations are they exploring?
They're actively investing in research and development to explore new technologies.
Like what?
Including artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Wow.
These advancements could enhance their grading processes, improve efficiency, and potentially even lead to the development of new services.
So they're embracing technology to stay ahead of the curve.
They are.
Now let's shift our focus to a topic that's gaining increasing importance in the business world.
Okay.
Environmental, social, and governance.
Yeah, ESG.
Or ESG practices.
Right.
How does IGI address these issues?
They recognize the growing importance of ESG considerations and highlight their commitment to responsible business practices.
Good.
They mention efforts to reduce their environmental footprint, promote ethical sourcing of diamonds, and foster a diverse and inclusive workplace.
It's encouraging to see companies embracing ESG principles. But it's also important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination.
That's right.
There is always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
They acknowledge the ongoing challenges in the diamond industry, particularly regarding sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Right.
And express their commitment to continuous improvement in these areas.
Good.
Now let's talk competition.
Okay.
We know they face competition from established gemological laboratories. But what about new entrants, particularly in the rapidly evolving market for lab-grown diamonds?
Well, the prospectus addresses this head-on. They acknowledge the potential threat from new players, especially those with disruptive technologies or business models. Existing players expanding into the lab-grown diamond market also pose a challenge.
So they're facing competitive pressure.
They are.
From multiple fronts. How do they plan to maintain their edge in this dynamic landscape?
They highlight their strengths.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Their strong brand reputation, their extensive laboratory network, their expertise in both natural and lab-grown diamonds, and their ongoing investments in technology and innovation.
So it's about leveraging their existing strengths while adapting to the changing market dynamics.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the Red Herring Prospectus provides a wealth of information about IGI's financial performance, but it also delves into their global operations.
Yes.
What are some of the key takeaways regarding their international presence?
They emphasize their global network of laboratories, strategically located in key diamond trading hubs around the world.
That makes sense.
They also mention efforts to expand their reach into new markets.
Oh. Like where?
Particularly in Asia and Africa, where the demand for diamonds is on the rise.
So they're thinking globally and strategically position themselves to capture those growth opportunities.
They are.
Now, one of the most compelling reasons to invest in any company is its growth potential. What are some of the key factors that could drive IGI's future growth?
They highlight several growth drivers.
Like what?
Including the increasing global demand for diamonds, particularly lab-grown diamonds, the growing awareness of diamond certification and grading, and the expanding luxury goods market in emerging economies.
It sounds like they're tapping into some powerful global trends that could fuel their growth for years to come.
It does.
But they also acknowledge the potential headwinds, right?
They do.
What could hold them back?
They mention factors like economic downturns, geopolitical instability, and even shifts in consumer preferences.
Right, so things outside of their control.
Things that could impact their growth trajectory. It's a reminder that even with the best strategies in place, there are always external factors that can influence a company's performance.
It's a balancing act.
It is.
Managing internal strengths while navigating external uncertainties. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most important sections of the Red Herring Prospectus. The management's discussion and analysis of financial condition and results of operations. Or MD&A, as it's often called. What insights does this section provide?
Well, the MD&A is a goldmine of information. It provides a comprehensive overview of IGI's financial performance, highlighting key trends, the factors driving their success, and the challenges they face. It also offers valuable insights into their overall strategy, growth plans, and the risks and opportunities that lie ahead.
So it's a must-read.
It is.
For anyone serious about understanding IGI's business and its potential.
For sure.
What are some of the key financial highlights that jump out from the MD&A?
Well, their revenue growth is front and center.
Okay.
They emphasize their strong performance, driven by the surging demand for lab-grown diamonds.
Okay.
And the strategic expansion of their global laboratory network. Right.
They're proud of their accomplishments? Yeah. And rightfully so.
And it's not just growth for growth's sake. No, they're also delivering on the bottom line.
Absolutely. The MD&A highlights their impressive profitability.
Okay, how so?
With consistently high EBITDA and profit after tax margins.
Okay.
These figures demonstrate their operational efficiency and their ability to convert revenue into profit.
That's a powerful combination. Strong growth and healthy profit margins.
It is.
What about their balance sheet? What does the MD&A reveal about their financial health?
They boast a strong balance sheet, characterized by ample cash reserves and minimal debt.
That's good.
This financial strength gives them the flexibility to pursue growth opportunities, make strategic acquisitions if needed, and even consider paying dividends to shareholders down the road.
That's a compelling financial picture. Yeah. But the MD&A doesn't just focus on the positives.
It also addresses the challenges they face.
Of course.
What are some of the key risks and uncertainties they highlight?
They're realistic about the potential headwinds they might encounter.
Okay, like what?
They mention the risk of economic downturns.
Right.
Particularly in key diamond-consuming markets.
Oh, okay.
Like the United States and China.
That makes sense.
They also acknowledge the potential impact of geopolitical instability.
Okay.
Trade wars. And even shifts in consumer preferences.
Right.
So they're aware of the external factors that could impact their business.
Yeah.
And they're not shying away from those risks.
What about internal risks? What are some of the things that could go wrong within the company itself?
Well, they highlight the risk of operational disruptions.
Like what?
Think natural disasters, cyber attacks, or even another global pandemic.
Right. Things that are impossible to predict.
Exactly.
These events are impossible to predict with certainty.
Right.
But they acknowledge the potential impact they could have.
They also acknowledge the importance of attracting and retaining top talent.
Okay.
Which can be a challenge in a competitive industry.
For sure. So they're focused on managing both external and internal risks.
Yeah.
Which is a sign of a mature and well-managed company.
Absolutely.
Now, let's revisit IGI's growth strategy. We've touched on their expansion plans.
Yeah.
But what's their long-term vision for the future?
The MD&A outlines their ambition to become the global leader in diamond and gemstone certification services.
Wow.
Their strategy for achieving this goal is multifaceted.
Okay.
They plan to continue expanding their global laboratory network.
Okay.
Develop innovative new services and technologies,
right,
and capture a greater share of the market in both established and emerging economies.
It's a bold vision.
It is.
But they seem to have the drive and the resources to make it a reality.
They do.
How do they plan to finance these ambitious growth initiatives?
Well, they plan to use a combination of internal cash flow generation, debt financing, and potentially strategic partnerships to fund their growth.
Okay.
The proceeds from this IPO will also play a significant role in financing their expansion plans.
So they're approaching their financing strategically.
Yeah.
Diversifying their sources of capital to ensure they have the resources to execute their growth plans.
That's right.
Now, when evaluating an investment opportunity, it's essential to understand the competitive dynamics of the industry.
Of course.
What does the MD&A reveal about the competitive landscape in the diamond certification market?
They acknowledge that competition is fierce.
Okay.
They face off against other established gemological laboratories, both in India and internationally.
Yeah.
The industry is characterized by intense competition for market share, customers, and even top talent.
So it's a battleground out there.
It is.
How does IGI plan to differentiate itself from the competition and maintain its leadership position?
They highlight their key differentiators.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Including their strong brand reputation, built over years of providing accurate and reliable grading services, their extensive global laboratory network, which provides convenient access to their services for customers worldwide, their expertise in both natural and lab-grown diamonds, allowing them to cater to a wider market, and their ongoing investments in technology and innovation, which keep them at the forefront of the industry.
It's a combination of factors that sets them apart.
It is.
They're not just relying on one strength.
No.
They're leveraging a combination of assets to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's talk about their marketing and sales strategy.
Okay.
How do they reach their target customers and convince them that IGI is the right choice for diamond certification?
Well, they utilize a multi-channel marketing approach, combining online and offline strategies to reach their target audience.
Okay, so like what?
They leverage their website, social media platforms, industry events, and strategic partnerships to promote their services and build brand awareness.
It's a comprehensive approach.
It is.
That covers all the bases.
Yeah.
Now let's talk valuation.
Okay.
While the Red Herring Prospectus doesn't disclose specific valuation metrics, it does provide some insight into their pricing strategy. How do they approach the task of determining the offer price for their shares?
They mention using a combination of factors, including their financial performance, growth prospects, industry benchmarks, and current market conditions.
So they're taking a holistic approach to valuation.
They are.
Considering both quantitative factors, like their financial numbers, and qualitative factors, like their brand reputation and market positioning.
Absolutely.
So they're not just looking at the numbers in isolation. They're considering the bigger picture. And the overall market context.
That's right.
Now, before we move on, let's circle back to the ethical considerations surrounding diamonds.
Yeah, good topic.
What are some of the key ethical challenges facing this industry? And how does IGI address these concerns?
Well, the ethical sourcing of diamonds, both natural and lab-grown, is a paramount concern.
It is.
There are concerns about human rights abuses. Environmental damage, and even conflict financing associated with diamond mining in certain regions. Consumers are becoming increasingly aware of these issues and demanding transparency and ethical sourcing practices
It makes sense.
from the companies they support.
So it's not just about the sparkle anymore.
No.
Consumers are looking deeper, wanting to know the story behind their diamonds.
Absolutely.
How does IGI respond to this growing demand for ethical sourcing?
They acknowledge the importance of ethical sourcing and sustainability in the diamond industry. And emphasize their commitment to responsible business practices. They mention their efforts to source diamonds from reputable suppliers who adhere to strict ethical standards. They also highlight their compliance with industry regulations and standards, ensuring that the diamonds they certify meet the highest ethical criteria.
So they're taking concrete steps to ensure that the diamonds they certify are ethically sourced and conflict-free.
Yes.
But they also recognize that there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
They acknowledge that ethical sourcing is an ongoing journey. And they're committed to continuous improvement in their practices. They're working to increase transparency throughout their supply chain. Giving consumers greater visibility into the origin and ethical journey of their diamonds.
It's a good goal.
It's a compelling commitment.
It is.
To ethical sourcing and responsible business practices.
Yeah, definitely.
Now let's shift gears. And talk about the regulatory landscape. What are some of the key regulations that impact IGI's business? And how do they ensure compliance?
As a global company operating in the diamond industry, they're subject to a complex web of regulations.
I bet.
These regulations cover areas like import and export controls, anti-money laundering measures, consumer protection, and of course, ethical sourcing. It's a lot to juggle.
It is.
But they have systems in place to ensure they stay on the right side of the law.
It's a highly regulated industry.
It is.
And it's crucial for a company like IGI to have a robust compliance program.
It is, very much so.
How do they manage this complex regulatory environment?
They have dedicated legal and compliance teams who monitor and ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations in each jurisdiction where they operate.
It's a lot.
It is.
They also emphasize the importance of staying informed about changes in regulations.
And adapting their practices accordingly.
So they're not just passively complying, they're proactively staying ahead of the regulatory curve.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to corporate governance. What insights does the prospectus provide regarding IGI's governance structure and practices?
Well, They're quite transparent about their corporate governance framework.
Okay.
They highlight their commitment to strong corporate governance principles,
Okay.
emphasizing transparency, accountability,
Right.
and ethical conduct at all levels of the organization.
Those are certainly buzzwords that we hear a lot in the corporate world.
They are.
But what do they actually mean in practice?
Well, they've implemented concrete measures to ensure good governance.
Yeah.
Their board of directors has a majority of independent directors,
Okay.
providing objective oversight
Mm-hmm.
and ensuring that decisions are made in the best interests of the shareholders.
Okay.
They've also established various committees to oversee key areas.
Oh, like what?
Like audit,
Mm-hmm.
compensation,
Okay.
and nomination.
It's a structured approach to governance.
It is.
That provides checks and balances.
Right.
And ensures accountability at all levels.
Yeah, very much so.
So let's turn our attention to the risks and uncertainties that could potentially impact IGI's future.
Okay.
We've touched on a few already.
We have.
But what are some of the specific risks that investors should carefully consider?
Well, the prospectus is very upfront about the risks,
Okay.
which is a sign of transparency and good corporate governance.
I like that.
One of the key risks they highlight is the dependence on the global diamond market.
Okay.
The diamond market is cyclical and can be impacted by a variety of factors.
Yeah, like what?
Including economic downturns,
Okay.
changes in consumer preferences, and even geopolitical events.
So they're operating in a market
Yeah,
that's susceptible to external shocks
absolutely.
and unpredictable swings.
It can be a volatile market.
What are some of the other risks
Okay.
that investors should be aware of?
Well, competition is always a factor in any industry, and the diamond certification market is no exception.
Right.
They face competition from other established gemological laboratories, both in India and internationally,
Okay.
as well as the potential threat of new entrants,
Right.
particularly in the rapidly growing lab-grown diamond segment.
So it's a dynamic and competitive landscape.
It is.
And they need to constantly adapt
Right.
to maintain their market share.
Yeah, for sure.
What about financial risks? Are there any potential financial headwinds that investors should be aware of?
Well, they mention the risk of fluctuations
Okay.
in foreign exchange rates,
Okay.
which can impact their profitability
Right.
since they operate in multiple countries
Yeah.
and have transactions in different currencies.
Right.
They also acknowledge the potential impact of rising interest rates on their debt financing costs.
So they're exposed to both market risks and financial risks.
'Cause they are.
It's a reminder that no investment is without its uncertainties.
That's right.
Now, let's talk about the team leading IGI through these challenges.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on their management team
Yeah.
and their ability to navigate these complexities?
They have a seasoned management team
Right.
with deep experience in the diamond industry,
Right.
finance,
Right.
and operations.
Okay.
Their track record suggests they have the skills and expertise to guide the company
That's what you want to see.
through this crucial phase of growth and navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
Okay, good. That's reassuring for potential investors.
It is.
A strong and experienced management team can make all the difference
Absolutely.
in a company's success.
Sure.
Now, let's delve into IGI's financial performance.
Okay.
We've already touched on their impressive revenue growth and profitability, but let's take a closer look at some of the specific financial metrics that highlight their success.
Sure.
What really stands out to you?
Well, their revenue growth is truly remarkable.
Remarkable in what way?
They've achieved a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR,
Okay.
of over 30% in recent years.
Wow.
This impressive growth has been fueled by the increasing demand for lab-grown diamonds
Okay.
and the strategic expansion of their global laboratory network.
It seems like they made all the right moves.
Yeah, they did.
That's a testament to their ability to identify and capitalize on growth opportunities
It is.
in a dynamic market.
Absolutely. And they're not just growing.
They're not just growing their top line.
Right.
They're also translating that growth into solid profits.
Okay, good, good. How so?
Well, their EBITDA margins, a measure of their operating profitability,
Right.
have consistently been above 65%,
Wow.
indicating strong operational efficiency
Okay.
and a healthy pricing strategy.
Okay, that's good. Their profit after tax margins
Right.
have also been consistently impressive.
Yes, exceeding 45%.
So they're demonstrating their ability to convert revenue into profit,
They are.
which is a key indicator of a healthy and sustainable business model.
What about their balance sheet? How strong is their financial position?
Their balance sheet is a picture of financial health.
Yeah.
They have ample cash reserves
Okay, good.
and minimal debt.
Okay, That's what you want to see.
Giving them the flexibility to pursue growth opportunities.
Okay.
Make strategic acquisitions if needed. And even consider paying dividends to shareholders down the road.
That's a strong financial foundation for future growth.
It is.
Now, the Red Herring Prospectus provides a detailed breakdown of how IGI plans to use the proceeds from the IPO. What are some of their key priorities for allocating these funds?
Well, they plan to allocate a significant portion of the proceeds to fund their ambitious growth initiatives.
Oh, okay. Such as?
These initiatives include expanding their global laboratory network, which will allow them to reach more customers in key markets around the world.
That makes sense.
Investing in research and development, which will help them stay at the forefront of the industry and develop new and innovative services. Good.
And potentially making strategic acquisitions.
Oh, okay.
That could accelerate their growth.
Okay.
Or expand their capabilities.
So they're taking a strategic approach.
Yeah.
To using the IPO proceeds, investing in both organic growth through internal initiatives and inorganic growth through potential acquisitions.
Exactly.
What about the remaining proceeds? How do they plan to allocate those funds?
The remaining proceeds will be used to repay existing debt.
Okay.
Which further strengthens their balance sheet and reduces their financial risk.
That makes sense.
And for general corporate purposes, such as working capital management and operating expenses, which are essential for the day-to-day running of the business.
So they're taking a balanced approach to allocating the IPO proceeds.
They are.
Investing in growth while also strengthening their financial position. And ensuring they have the resources to manage their ongoing operations effectively.
Absolutely.
Now, the key question for any potential investor is,
what's in it for me?
Right.
What are the potential benefits for investors who decide to buy shares in IGI's IPO?
The prospectus outlines several potential benefits.
Okay, like what?
Including the opportunity to participate in the growth of a leading player in a rapidly expanding industry.
IGI is well positioned to capitalize on the increasing global demand for diamonds.
Yes.
Particularly lab-grown diamonds.
Right.
And they have a proven track record of success, demonstrated by their strong financial performance and their experienced management team.
Exactly.
So investors have the potential to benefit from IGI's continued growth and success.
They do.
What about dividends?
Yeah.
Is there any potential for investors to receive dividend payments in the future?
Well, while they haven't explicitly stated their dividend policy, their strong cash flow generation and healthy balance sheet suggest they might have the capacity to pay dividends in the future. However, it's important to remember that dividend payments are never guaranteed. Right. And they depend on a variety of factors.
Yeah, like what?
Including the company's financial performance, investment needs,
Right.
and overall market conditions.
It's a possibility, but investors shouldn't count on it.
That's right.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's offer some key takeaways for potential investors. What are some of the essential things they should keep in mind when evaluating IGI's IPO?
Well, it's crucial to conduct thorough due diligence before making any investment decision.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Start by carefully reading the entire Red Herring Prospectus.
The whole thing?
Paying close attention to the risk factors section, which outlines the potential challenges and uncertainties that could impact IGI's business.
So don't just skim the highlights.
Yeah.
Really dig into the details and make sure you understand the potential downsides as well as the upsides.
Exactly.
It's also important to thoroughly review the financial statements, analyzing their revenue growth, profitability, balance sheet strength, and cash flow generation.
Absolutely.
Beyond the numbers, it's essential to understand IGI's business model, the dynamics of the diamond certification industry, and the competitive landscape they operate in.
Yeah, very important.
So it's about looking at the company from multiple angles.
It is.
Understanding their financials, their business model, and their position in the market.
That's right.
What are some other factors that potential investors should consider?
It's also crucial to align your investment decision with your own individual investment goals, risk tolerance, and time horizon. IPOs can be volatile investments. And it's important to make sure that IGI's investment profile aligns with your personal investment strategy.
So it's not just about understanding the company. It's also about understanding yourself as an investor.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of IPOs and the gem certification industry.
It has been.
Thanks for sharing your expertise
You're welcome.
and helping us decode IGI's Red Herring Prospectus.
Happy to help.
To our listeners, remember that investing involves risk. Do your own research, consult with a financial advisor,
Absolutely.
and make informed decisions that align with your investment goals.
Good advice.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
Stay curious.
and we'll see you on our next deep dive.
Sounds good.